It was September 1971. A mushroom hunter and his son were walking along Highway 199 near milepost 35 in Oregon when they found human remains.
This isn't the place for this person to be.
Kari Lee is the Deputy Property Control Specialist for the Josephine County Sheriff's Office. Her current mission, to find out who Annie Doe really is.
I think it was the fact that of my personal shock when I opened a box and found a human remains in the box.
Sitting in an evidence room in Clackamas are skeletal remains of the woman believed to have been as young as 16 years old. Also in her box, a pink and tan coat which was wrapped around her head, a knife, and several other clues. But what stands out most to investigators...
This is the ring with the AL scratched into it right on the stone itself, which is just different.
According to the state forensics anthropologist, there are more than 30,000 unidentified bodies across the United States. 127 of those cases are in the state of Oregon. There are currently 50 unidentified bodies from southern Oregon.
Most of the bodies that are located are found by either a family member or someone who's out recreating somewhere, and they may come across a decomposing body from the smell, and those often become difficult to identify through a facial recognition and sometimes not even through fingerprints.
Unique clues like the ring found on Annie Doe are crucial to solving these cases.
We only get one opportunity at an unaffected crime scene, so if it is a crime scene, we don't want to pollute it or contaminate it inadvertently.
If someone goes missing and they're not reported, or someone doesn't bring in like a hairbrush or a toothbrush or something that contains their DNA that is identifiable, we have nothing to compare the two DNAs with.
Detectives say the further you go back in time, the more difficult it is to solve a case because there are fewer people who may know the person, and technology wasn't as advanced 40 years ago.
We can put information out to the public through the media, through print, through television, through radio, through the internet, and get many eyes looking at something that in 1964 was a challenge.
Now that there are more resources available, like online records and photographic images, investigators are able to go back to old cases and try to identify someone.
You can't stop. You can't stop. You've got to keep searching and hoping and trying to think of some other way to find a connection.
They say new tips and leads are constantly coming in. Suspicious deaths and homicides are put to the top of the list.
The longer the time goes from when the body is discovered to when they're identified to when the suspect is identified, the greater the risk that we lose opportunities to get someone held responsible through a conviction.
No matter how much time has passed, detectives won't stop looking for answers.
That's really probably the most important thing, is that the families need closure and need to know something.
Covering your news, Ashley Carrasco, News 10. A single strand of hair, a distinct tattoo, an old broken bone. These can make or break unidentified body cases. Agencies across the nation are trying to figure out whose remains have been forgotten or left without an identity. It's known as the nation's silent mass disaster.
It's spread out across across the nation and a great period of time. So it's almost a disaster that you don't realize is happening around you.
Despite modern technology, some bodies are left unclaimed and nameless. Oregon's oldest unidentified body case is from 1969, the newest from October 2015. Dr. Nici Vance, the state forensic anthropologist with the OSP Medical Examiners Division, is in charge of all unidentified bodies in the state. She says it's a matter of persistence.
So we revisit all of these old cases, and in addition to that, we look at them with new eyes. We look at them with additional people, additional resources.
Dr. Vance says so far about 20 old cases in Oregon have been solved because of the latest technology. NamUs, short for the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, has been a tool in helping investigators in these types of cases. There are more than 22,000 cases in NamUs. In 2007, the website launched the information about unidentified remains. About a year later, missing persons cases were uploaded to the site.
It's almost like a virtual morgue You always see the morgues on television where you go and you pull the sheet back to identify somebody. We're doing this virtually.
NamUs has a full description of unidentified bodies and any missing people. You can see right here they provide pictures of what the person would have looked like, as well as evidence they may have found on scene, like clothing and blankets. Todd Matthews with NamUs warns there is some graphic material.
You are going to see some remains that are in stages of decomposition.
Investigators have access to even more evidence, like fingerprint cards, dental records, x-rays, and DNA comparisons within the database. Matthews says trying to figure out who a person is starts by working with the evidence that already exists.
I always like to work from the dead side and go the other way because we know that this person's dead. So they have to be missing from somewhere.
NamUs is constantly trying to make connections for possible matches between the missing profiles and information about the unidentified remains through algorithms. Dr. Vance says Oregon is at the top of the list when it comes to helping families get answers.
We have pictures of people during an exam where you can see which side they part their hair on. We have their glasses. We can place their glasses on their face and take a picture.
State leaders say public access to the website is crucial.
If we don't populate that database, then we can't be successful.
Because loved ones can give information that could be missing from the investigation.
And you have to consider the possibility that your missing loved one could be deceased. I know that's not a pleasant thought for people, but it is a possibility.
Aside from NamUs, medical examiners across the nation also send DNA samples to the University of North Texas, where they complete a DNA analysis.
When they're done with the sample, they send it back to us so we can reunite it with the remainder of the remains.
The bodies found in Oregon are housed in the OSP Medical Examiner's Office in Clackamas. Even with the latest technology and collaborative efforts by multiple agencies, Dr. Vance says they still run into some challenges.
We have a challenging issue with dental records in the fact that a lot of dentist office will purge their records after about 7 years. So when someone goes missing, and it's been a very, very long time since perhaps they've visited a dentist, when a law enforcement agency goes to that dentist and attempts to get dental records from them, there's no luck there.
For those who have found law enforcement to be reluctant on taking their case, there are still some options.
So sometimes we hear from families after they've attempted to make a missing persons report, and sometimes we can help them. So even if we take a case that we have no local report on and we can't publish it, we can work behind the scenes to try to get an agency to take that.
The effort continues, all in hope of connecting the missing to the deceased and finding answers in the mysteries.
Closure. It's a strange word, closure, but a lot of families at least have a certain amount of peace knowing where their loved one is.
Covering your news, Ashley Carrasco, News 10.